do, it all is based on the prep work. I mean, you can't just jump off on the first coach that's out there who says, oh, I'm going to help you lose, or shift your eating habits and become the most gorgeous woman in the world or whatever, blah, 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 without doing your homework. What if she's full of shit?
Right.
And testimonials can be fake.
Can they?
I have had people ask me, oh, well, let's put this testimonial in there. And I'm like, I'm sorry. If that's not an authentic testimonial, you can't, produce the email that it came from or whatever. I mean, and it's not like I asked for information anyway. But if they send it to me and they are like, let's put this in, and I have no way of knowing whether or not it's an authentic testimonial. I mean, I've said no before. I'm not going to do it. You can do whatever you want to do when you get the copy that I'm going to send you, but it won't be part of what I write.
Well, that's admirable that you have an integrity that just doesn't yield to the wishes of somebody throwing whatever in there. I appreciate that.
No, you have to have integrity.
Well, one would think.
That's the only way to function, I guess. I mean, I've seen a lot of scams, especially with the coaching industry.
I bet you have.
Because they pay a lot of money for those coaches, too.
Yeah, in my network, at least for a while, you couldn't swing a cat and not hit 3 personal coaches. And it's like, you're between jobs, and how long is this going to last?
Mm-hmm.
So from your observation of my presence online, what is my voice from Tania's perspective?
Charles's voice is straight from the hip, yet a little dry, highly intelligent, compassionate. Your voice would be easy to put on the page because I feel like you do show up as who you are, because you show up with your question daily, which drives me insane every day. I'm looking at these questions. I'm going, just don't even answer, but I can't help myself. My thumbs are already typing as soon as I see the freaking question. So, I mean, you have a lot of compassion. You have a lot of authenticity behind your what you post, and your humor is out of this world. I don't think I could mimic very easily.
Well, I love your answers. I always look forward to Tania's reply and enjoy the interaction. And it's funny to always think about how one is perceived and who sees you and the way you show up. I told a friend yesterday that I feel like I go through life wearing a hospital gown with the strings cut out of the back. It ain't real pretty in the front, but let me tell you, you don't want to go around the side or the back. It gets bad.
That's insane. See, who thinks of that?
So what are some of the fears or obstacles that you have to deal with in producing your craft? What things continue to hold you back?
I have a horrible fear of failure. I've found that I have to have somebody to work with, and somebody that's going to kick me in the teeth when I need my teeth kicked in. Shut up and go do your writing because, or this needs to be fixed or whatever. So, but I have a huge fear of failure, and I don't want to put words out there that are not going to make people money. I don't want to put words out there that people are not going to love, that people aren't going to fall in love with when they read it and they go, oh my God. I mean, people, when they get excited, they're like, oh my God, I can't believe this is me. This is me. And I was like, yes, this is you. And this is how you show up, whatever. And it's not that hard to put it on the page. But what if I can't? What if I can't make them feel all warm and fuzzy when they read that copy?
So what have you learned about the process of putting processes in place so that you can get your work consistently shipped? This show is based on the processes that help leaders ship their work. But I think about you as a writer with an office at home. You're married. You're a mom of 3. I'm sure very delightful children. You can't just hang your family on a hook until you're finished with the project. There's going to be overlap or clashing needs at the same time that happen in and outside of your home. So what processes can you help others with or that you've put in place to get your work done?
Yeah, that's the hardest part of doing all this, is just being taken seriously to the point where, I bring in 5 figures a month. This is not a joke. This is not a hobby. Shut up and let me work. It was a really hard struggle trying to make that shifting.
Right.
In my head, I was shifting from stay-at-home mom to real earner, a big contributor to the house. But in everybody else's eyes, I was still mama. There was nothing else changed. And I'm like, no, this has to be fixed. So it slowly training them. And actually, the biggest thing that helped was when I sucked it up and decided it's not going to happen, that I have to just get up at 3:30 in the morning and get my stuff done, whether I want to or not. And I got home from the cafe at 12:15 last night, and I still had work to do. So I was up until 1:30, and then I had to get up at 4:30 to get everybody ready for school. So the whole process, the biggest process is making it the biggest priority that you have, or the second biggest priority that you have. But what has helped me with that whole shift back, okay, I have half an hour, it's time to jump in and get some work done, is my manager sent me a trigger routine, and I have to reread it before I start my work ever. And what it does is puts my brain back into work mode and into ignore everything else mode unless somebody's bleeding.
Well, you touched on routines, and I both love and hate routines, I think, as most creative people do. Talk a little bit about routines and how they fit into your process of shipping.
It doesn't happen if I don't follow my routine, and which is part of the struggle that I have with a spouse that works at home 90% of the time or 80% of the time. My schedule is not always at my own discretion, but I find that when that does happen, when my routine is messed up, nothing gets shipped out, nothing gets published, and nothing gets created. So as much as I hate in my head having to say, okay, it's time to get up, we got to go do this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and everything is a formula, and it's like there's no freedom, yet that freedom is afforded by the 1, 2, 3, get it done now thing. So routines are absolutely necessary as much as we hate them.
Yeah, as I talk with a lot of creative people, they have, it seems like more of a hate than a love with it. But at some point, if they are consistently getting work into the world, they have to acknowledge that without them, they cannot consistently do it.
Well,
which also... Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say routines are inherently necessary because they free up so much of our brain space. Because if you're constantly thinking about, okay, what do I have to do next? What do I have to do next? What do I have to do next? You don't have that free brain capacity to create the artistic work that you want to produce, whatever it is, words or art or photography or whatever. But if you have the routine in place, everything goes into automatic pilot, and it's in that book, and The Power of Habit, I think that's the name of it. It's a survival mechanism that we develop, so if your daily routine is messed up, then your brain is thinking, okay, now what's next, and you don't have the creative power to be genius. Right.
Were you talking about Charles Duhigg's book?
Yeah
That's
I forgot the name.
Very powerful book. Well, yeah, decision fatigue seems to be one of the most exhausting of having to make those decisions of what to do next, as opposed to having a structure in place that just, in a sense, gives the next thing and stick with the steady process, as opposed to waiting for the muse to show up or waiting for some inspiration to hit. It's just get to work, and the energy, the creativity will come. I'm just finishing, actually, in the last chapter of Elizabeth Gilbert's newest book, Big Magic. And that also has been, at least to me, an inspiration to hear it yet again, the power of showing up, doing the work, crafting the words or the pixels or the music or whatever it might be, without expecting creativity or the inspiration to be there ahead of time. To show up, do your work, and then find that in the process, the creativity, the muse does show up, and boom, it begins to happen. But not until you're actually putting words on the page or doing the necessary grunt work to get it done.
Exactly. And I just learned that recently, and I've been in business for 4 years doing this. I opened up this new notebook, and everybody loves new office supplies.
Oh yeah.
So what am I going to do with this notebook? I need this notebook for something. And I have no idea. It's not I have 35 of them in the cabinet, but it's let me see what to do with this. And through a conversation with my manager, I thought, I need to make this my content journal, because I'm always in a hurry. My brain is always in 50 different places because of all of the responsibilities that I have.
Of course.
I have no time to focus on the words. So I was what if I just focus on, I take half an hour just to write, just whatever. And so I created this content journal, and I would sit down And I found that my most successful days start when I've spent at least 15 minutes writing in this content journal. And the content journal is solely focused on my work. There's no random BS, whatever's pissing me off that day in this journal. Is all about copy. It's all about ideal clients. It's all about content marketing, saying the right words, and standing above the noise. Everything in there pertains to that. So I get in there and I start writing on whatever prompt I've left off the day before with. And I go until my brain is no longer thinking about whatever it is that's around me, but it's thinking about the words that I need to write. And that really, really helped me have a super month last month. So,
wow. We were really influenced by Julia Cameron's book, The Artist's Way, and actually facilitated some small groups around the thinking of it several times. And for a couple of years, I really honored the habit of getting up and doing morning pages every morning, and then fell away from it. And Linda's now gone back to doing it every morning. And I'm somewhat envious, but I got frustrated because I felt like I was just in this loop of writing the same stuff and was frustrated. But it has absolutely just turned around a lot of her thinking. And my wife, Linda, is a writer as well. So it's been helping her. She's going to be excited to hear your routine. Can you dig a little bit more into your process of that writing? How is it different than, say, morning pages of just writing out all the stuff that's garbage you're trying to get out to be very content-rich thinking?
Yeah, that makes sense. I've heard everybody talk about morning pages. I'm a horrible reader. I'm a really bad reader, and that's something that I've tried to correct, but I just don't have the bandwidth for it. So I know everybody talks about morning pages and that it's a particular number of pages that you have to write every morning or whatever, but I'm assuming that there's no restriction on what it is that you write about. You just free write whatever comes to your mind. Is that what it is?
Right.
Okay. So the difference with the content journal is that I'm taking my craft and I'm making it the focus of what I want to create for the day. Even not even for the day. It's just, I have in the beginning of the journal, I've broken down my ideal client and the struggles that they are suffering with. And I've taken them into like 10 different categories. I don't think there's 10. There's almost 10 categories. And then I take those categories and I break them down even further. So I pick a topic in that bracket of what my ideal client is fighting with. And I just start to think, how are we going to solve this? And I go, how can I teach them to handle this better? And it is just a kind of free writing lessons, I guess, things I know. And then I'm allowing also new ideas to develop and why this is different from this, how they can connect these dots and that kind of thing. And I just continue on with that. And there was one little thing I came up with, and I don't know if it's really anything, but it was something that I was impressed with. And it was good copy, makes your ideal client identify with the problem. Excellent copy makes them feel like they wrote it.
Wow, that's good.
And I don't know if maybe there could be a gap in the translation, but what I mean is that your words are written so emotionally that they feel them. They don't just say, oh yeah, I've struggled with that before. They can actually say, oh my God, she understands. I could have written that. It was so on target. So that was, and that's the kind of stuff that comes out of the content journal. It's just allowing your brain to think about nothing else. I mean, that's the only rule, is that the only thing you can think about is what your craft is.
I need to work on that. To follow that line of thought and letting your mind just relax and free itself. If anyone follows your missives on Facebook, it won't take long to find out that you love to throw a leg over your beloved motorcycle Thunder and hit the road for some wind therapy. Can you talk a little bit about the need for our brains to take a rest for one's best work to surface? Absolutely,
because as a human who is working 2 careers and being a mother, I'm really struggling, and I can identify with the fact that without my time in the morning, that 3 a.m., that 3:30 a.m., get up, be quiet time, I'm highly dysfunctional mentally. And it's my routines that are making the house not fall down around us. But without that that time to just say, okay, nothing and nobody, it's all cut off, you just sort of